everything. It really does. By the way, this was fascinating news. So I watched The Daily Show and some other shows, and I've now seen Andy Bashir making the rounds on some of these shows, and obviously for political reasons. So Patino in New York did the Andy Bashir podcast. And it was taped Tuesday in New York. And here's a quote. I took it from Eric Crawford, the outstanding longtime columnist with the Courier Journal. Quote, "I deserve to be fired," Patino said, talking about Louisville. Continue to quote, "because my assistant coaches did the wrong thing. And looking back on it, I learned a valuable lesson: who to hire, who to trust, what to believe in." End of quote. Look, everybody makes mistakes. And if people are saying, well, it's about time he did this and stuff like that, and you're going, yeah. Hey, look in the mirror. You know, there are some things in my life that it's taken me decades and decades and decades and decades to come to grips with. I don't think that's unusual. So I'm not going to rip him for it. And remember what he used to say. Hey, it wasn't me, it was my assistant coaches. But what I used to say is, no, I didn't think he should have been fired. I really don't. I think there were a lot of politics with there. And it's okay for him saying he deserved to be fired. But where he screwed up, he did a lousy job hiring assistants. Said it back then. Said it before it happened, by the way. And you know, when you think about it, I will always say his first staff here was as good of a staff as there was in the history of college basketball. Herb Sendek, still doing great things as a head coach at Santa Clara. Ralph Willard, who was a really, really good coach and his best friend and a really smart dude. I mean, take a look at the staff. Billy Donovan, gee, what happened to him? I mean, just take a look at the staff and the people and what they did and the smart people, the smart people. Tubby got his master's degree. He already, you could call his doctorate degree working for Patino. Oh, that old story about Tubby that I love. They play these pickup games. I think it was 6 o'clock in the morning. And Tubby would go to sleep in his shorts, basketball shorts, and his T-shirts. When he got out of bed, went right down there to play the game and stuff like that because you didn't want to be late. And you want to make sure you pass the ball. Patino, by the way, he's a hell of a shooter. I saw him in college one time. He loved to shoot. He was a chucker. I've told that story some other time. But the point is, he said, I deserve to be fired. What I never understood, and it was a softness, how soft he was hiring assistant coaches. As he became more successful, he took an easier route. That is all on him. And I will always believe that had he done a better job hiring assistant coaches, he might still be there today. Easy to say. Then by the same token, too, if he didn't take the Celtics job, he shouldn't have taken the Celtics job. He would be where? In Lexington, Kentucky, and mirroring Krzyzewski for most wins in the history of college basketball. And he's not going to get it now. He's at 73. I hate to say too old, but you think he's going to coach 10 more years? Maybe. I don't think so. If anybody could do it, he can. Seriously. Works out 3 times a day. We played that video the other day where he does, was it 450, Jimmy? I think it was. He's trying to 450 or 700. I think it was 700.
700 total. You said 450 in the morning and then another like 250 calories in the afternoon or evening.
Yeah, in the afternoon. And then after that, he lifts weights with the strength coach. So he's doing 3 workouts every single day. That's absolutely remarkable. It's just remarkable. So he admitted it. Okay, I wonder if this is going to be a big story. I wonder. But I will always believe, because I know some things, that part of the reason he got fired was the political point of view. There's no question about it. And, you know, he made his own bed with another issue that I don't have to go into. I'm not chilling from it, but I want to take 5 minutes talking about it. And if the other issue didn't happen, do I think he would have been fired? I do not, by the way. And I've talked to some people on the inside a long time ago. Neither here nor there. The point is, it's interesting that after all these years, he said on an episode of the Andy Bashir podcast that he said it should have been fired in Louisville. Want to mention this because it's wonderful. Chris Oates, who had, you never know, but had NFL written all over him and then became paralyzed. I think every Kentucky fan knows that story. And apparently, thanks to donations, he's going back to therapy. And there were just a couple clips on Twitter, pictures, not clips. And one of them had him in a position I didn't know he could do. So he's obviously getting better and better. I don't know about full use of everything or whatever, but the kid has worked hard. He's a young man. People are praying for him and rooting for him. And so I'm pretty sure that's his brother who put that up. So that's really, really, really good. I'll tell you something else I'm looking forward to watching. There's going to be a documentary on Bob Huggins. And to me, it was sad that he couldn't control himself. He always had that problem, by the way. Please don't sue me, Hugs, because, he had a problem. But he was a great coach and a really great man. Tough guy, but a great man. And in his era, I don't know of anybody that was tougher that still had his players loved him. I mean, he was a mean, crazy. Let's put it this way: he's crazier than Pitino. Crazier than Pitino, and his guys loved him. Not everybody, but his guys loved him. So Darryl Bird put on Twitter a story I had heard too. So let's give Darryl Bird some credit. I heard it a long time ago. So he was at a fish fry fundraiser while he was coaching at West Virginia. So he wanted to take his team into the coal mines. And the operator of the mine said that the ceiling was too low for the basketball players and the overall space was going to be cramped. And Hug's response was, these guys need to know who they are playing for. That's a quote. I loved it. I didn't like it. I loved it. You go in the coal mines, and I've never done it, and I'd be scared to do it. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite. It's no filter. I'd be scared to do it. I guess I would if I had to. But think about what you learn as an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid. You're 6'8" or 6'1" or 7 feet or whatever, and it's a totally different world. And no matter what you hear about it, I'm sure I would be the same way. When you go in there, it's probably life-changing. It really is. It's a great education about how the other side lives. I don't know how these men did it with all the black lung diseases and all that kind of stuff. They really, really did it. We need to take a break, but I want to do one thing first. Jerome Tang, Jimmy, let me know when you've got that. He's a Kansas State coach, and I really like him, by the way. And remember when he finally got the Kansas State job, did he replace every player or every player but one? It was something like that, and they were really good. Talk to Kentucky about it, right? And he's a very religious man. I think he's a really good man. I think he's a special man, and it took him too long to become a head coach. So, and this is all on him, by the way. It's all on him. UC is a bad basketball team, bad enough that the odds are pretty good they're going to fire their coach, okay? So Kansas State lost to UC, that's Cincinnati, 91-62. Now, I'm going to give you the quote, and then we're going to play it. They don't love this place, so they don't deserve to be here. Now, he got the players here, so it's on him. And he did a bad job evaluating on his first team. He did a great job evaluating. This is his soundbite, and it's possible he will survive because he's a strong religious man, and I think he's a wonderful man, and it's Kansas State, it's not Kentucky. If they're losing like this and he's the Kentucky coach, he's gone. He's gone. He's gone. Here is Jerome Tang after they lost 91-62 to Cincinnati last night.
These dudes got to have they got some pride, man. They got some pride. It means something to wear a K-State uniform. It means something to put on this purple, man. Our like, everything this university is about and all that it's been about, why I love this place, man. Like, they don't love this place, so they don't deserve to be here. Yeah, I'd wear a paper bag, too, if I was them. Thanks a lot, fellas. God bless.
So there were students in the stands wearing bags. Most of the time, and fans wearing a bag, it's nothing new, but most of the time when fans or students are wearing bags, the coach and some players on the team will kind of fight back and say, hey, you don't love us anymore. You're deserting us. All that kind of stuff. Unscientifically, through the years, I've seen this stuff for decades. This is nothing new. It was really popular in New Orleans. Remember when the Saints were really bad? I don't know if it was the first, but I got a lot of publicity. But Jimmy, come on, as an NFL guy, I mean, you have seen this. It isn't every day where a coach says, if I was in the stands, I'd wear a bag too. I thought it was powerful. And I'm going to guess he survives because of the person that he is, because his kids apparently go to class. He stands for the right thing. He tries to do the right. He actually lives what he talks about. I'm sure there are other coaches that do, and there's some other coaches that say certain things and they don't live by it. And percentages, I don't know. It's not important. But the point is, I think he really does. Jimmy, how often in your sports knowledge have you heard a coach, not the first one, have you heard a coach say, hey, if I was in the stands, I'd wear a bag too?
I don't know if I ever have, even in those days of the New Orleans Aints, as they were called, and then I think the Lions did it a couple times whenever they went winless in that season, the Browns. But I've never heard a coach or a player or anything like involved with it say, "Yeah, I would probably do the same thing." Like that's a bold statement, but like you said, that his passion. I remember a couple years ago, it might have been the first year he was there. After they had a big win at home, he jumped up on the scorer's table, grabbed the microphone, and was like telling the crowd to get hyped up, and was hyping up the student section, everything. Like the energy that he brings and the passion that he has is real, and that's why I think he's feeling this way right now.
I remember there was a time in two different stints I was host of the Bengals radio network for 14 years, and this won't shock you, Jimmy, but there was a time where fans in the stands wore bags. Are you surprised?
No.
Actually, you'd been surprised if I said over 14 years, and there were some bad years, and then there were some really good years. And you know what? I still say they had a shot at winning the Super Bowl had Tim Krumrie not got his leg busted. He was the best defensive lineman in football, double teamed all the time, made plays all the time, a wrestler, whatever. Now he's fighting dementia, but a really good dude. And he was tremendously undersized too for what he did. He was a wrestler. And so he was built like a wrestler and didn't put on extra weight. And it's not like he ran a 4.5 40, but that first step and the veracity he hit you with. And when he broke his leg early on in that game one year, and then Carson ripped his knee in the playoffs. And that was the year all of us in the broadcast booth, we all thought that was a feeling in the Bengals locker room. It was a feeling in Cincinnati. It was a feeling in management. Not saying we're definitely going to win the Super Bowl, but that was the year a lot of people thought the Bengals should win the Super Bowl. It really was. And you know what? I'll never forget that. I'm in the broadcast booth. And when that happened, it's like we all were punched in the stomach. And I don't think I'm giving a trade secret away on Dave Lapham, who does a great job. How has he not been Sportscaster of the Year in Ohio? And they finally put him in the Ring of Honor. Guy's been a great, great broadcaster. He's a really smart dude, by the way. There aren't a lot of people that started on the off. Jimmy, how many people you know as an NFL guy started on the offensive line in all 5 positions?
I think I looked it up whenever you had mentioned that. I think there's only been a handful, maybe 5.
See, that would be my guess, too. And by the way, I don't think he ever started at a particular place one time. It was usually because somebody's hurt. I'm not saying he was 100 times at every position because that's not possible. But, I mean, for one, you have to be really smart, and you got to be really coordinated. And when he would move, it's not like all of a sudden it was a deficit. So I'll never forget the commercial break. And most people know broadcast booth, the windows are open, which made it really cold. And the guys in the first row had heaters. Jimmy, do you think I got a heater in the second row?
Probably not.
No.
There was a draft from one of the heaters. Maybe you could get a little whiff of some heat.
No, because they were smart. It was underneath, as it should be, for their feet and stuff like that. Plus, you didn't want to have the noise. So the windows are open, for the ambiance of the crowd noise. There's a crowd mic out there and all that. And the F-bombs in the stands in the commercial break was, I've never, and there is no second tier with me, ever heard fans with language like that out of fear, frustration. I've never heard Lap curse like that out of fear, frustration. And I'm not exposing Lap here. What is he? He's an offensive lineman. He loves the team. He's been with the team for 50 years or more, whatever the heck it is. Loves the team. Linemen like him, all that kind of stuff. And he wears his heart on his sleeve. You ever listen to the games? He wears his heart on his sleeve. Never heard it like that. Never. And it was amazing. It was. This will sound terrible, but Jimmy, I hope the expression is not too poor, but it was like somebody died, literally. And obviously, please don't start on social media that I'm comparing the two, but the veracity of the intensity of the angst was just absolutely, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, and that it was the Steelers, too, just made it that much more. And that team, I was looking, Rudy Johnson, Chris Henry, rest in peace, Hushman Zada, Chad Johnson. That was that offense.
Loaded.
Yeah.
Loaded. They were absolutely unequivocally loaded. I thought his best offense in the NFL. And Carson Palmer was at his peak then. He really was. And that was, when he got hurt, that was a horrific knee injury. And then he talked his way out of Cincinnati, whatever. We're not making this the Bengals, going down memory lane, but the Bags made me think about it. And good for Tang. Let's put it this way. It's all, you know what? It's as much his fault as it was Patino's fault for hiring the assistant coaches. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
That's all on Patino. He got lazy. And as I say that, this is a guy that works his blank off. I've talked about this a lot through the years. There are some coaches, and he didn't get this far. There are some coaches who believed you could just roll out the ball and succeed. That was Cal's line when he was defensive about himself. But if you look at some of the old coaches that got older, Dale Brown slipped in recruiting and stuff like that. And I think he slipped with some of his coaches. I think John Thompson slipped a little bit. I think Denny Crum slipped a little bit. And keeping your energy as you get older as a coach is a very difficult thing to do. It is. It's very, very difficult. And Patino as a coach, come on, he's doing the one-on-one workouts with his kids all day long, starting at 9 a.m. They have a schedule based upon classes and stuff like that. There's nobody, I think, in college basketball does as many as he does, and he's 73 years old. But I think he slipped with assistant coaches. And I don't know if it's going to be on his tombstone, but it is. So he admitted it, that he should have been fired on an Andy Bashir's podcast. Subaru, Quantrell. The Quantrell Auto Group has a great deal this month for Subaru. The Outback, as you know, it's special. So check it out. They've got all kinds of wonderful deals going on with that. They really do. Plus, don't forget about the surge. Because Cadillac just turned the dial all the way up. At Quantrell Cadillac, innovation meets raw performance. From head-turning electric models to bold, gas-powered luxury machines built to move fast. Right now, get 2.9%. That's 2.9% APR for 60 months on many electric models and 3.4% APR on 36 months on many gas-powered models. And we know about the gas-powered models because the one we had, wow, it was explosive. And the electric ones, they're even much faster, which is kind of crazy. That's premium power with serious momentum behind it. Hit the throttle today. That's a good line. I wish I wrote that. Hit the throttle today at QuantrellCadillac.com. See dealer for details. And we have the XC60, the Volvo, the hybrid. I talk about it every day. We love it. We're saving money on the hybrid. It gets 41 miles before you have to use gas. So I wonder what the percentage is. I would say probably it's got to be close to 90%. Maybe higher, just a guess, because I see when it's charged at night and don't have to charge it because guess what? Often my wife doesn't go 41 miles, often in the 30s. And there have been a couple times she's gone 41 miles and then recharge it for a little bit later. So it's all good. Check them out. Quantrell Cadillac, they treat you right as people. It's a people organization. Jerry Tipton at 1, Chip Rupp at 1:30, having fun with you. And good stuff with Pope today. If you missed the press conference, it'll be on our podcast by about 2:30, anywhere you get podcasts. And especially check it out on the ESPN Lexington app. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313, 859-381-1313.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen. And she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine. I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing. And it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler, and I've spent years on these roads, and safety isn't a slogan to me, it's real life. That's one reason I trust Volvo. Quantrill Volvo has been part of this community for years. Brentley and Mark are friends of mine, and they run the dealership the right way with care, integrity, and real respect for the people they serve. If safety, smart design, and peace of mind matter to you, start your search at Quantrill Volvo. We have the XC60, the hybrid. We love it. Best car we've had in 43 years, and it is really smooth, and we're saving money on the gas. Right now, get financing as low as 0.99% APR for 36 months on most 2026 models. Visit QuantrillVolvo.com. See dealer for details.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back, everyone. Honored and pleased that the retired Hall of Famer, Jerry Tipton, has come in the studio to join us. Jerry, how's retirement doing?
He's getting his headphones put on now.
He's getting his headphones on. Jimmy, do me a favor. Cue up number 9 from Chandler that we've been playing all throughout the week. And tell me when Jerry can hear. So I'll introduce Jerry, and I want Jerry to comment on the soundbite. Jerry, how are you? Thanks for coming in. How's life? How's retirement, dude?
Retirement is good. I had, maybe I've told you this before, Alan. I had an aunt tell me never retire because her husband, my uncle, he retired and he missed his work friends, and he was just sitting around the house and put on a lot of weight, and it just wasn't good. So my objective was to stay busy. And so I exercise at the YMCA, and UK offers classes for seniors. And I take a class each semester and have lunch once a week with John Clay and Mike Fields. So, all is good.
It's easy. What I found, because I didn't do this for 4 years from retirement, and I couldn't believe how busy I was doing nothing.
Well, one thing I like, two things that come immediately to mind. One, I'm hardly ever in a hurry. So I'll let people pull out, if they're waiting to get into the lane for traffic or whatever. And so that's a nice feeling.
You would never, for me, when you were working, you would have said, I'm cutting you off, Cutler. I got to get back to the Herald Leader. And by the way, I wouldn't have let you in either if I was on a tight deadline.
I also I watch a game and then go to bed. I don't have to go, in the olden days, the work was really just starting after the game ended. Yeah. And so now, I watch the game, I enjoy it, and, then go to bed.
I bet you're like me. And this is the part where I was probably sick. For most of the time, until I hit about 62, Jerry, I love the tight deadlines. I love the rush. I love it. And then something had to be 62. I started going, it's enough. I've done this. I know I do tight deadlines really well. I was just kind of tired of it. And then I had to force myself. It wasn't tough, but I forced myself to keep my energy up. Look, if Social Security hit at 62 and I could have taken it, I probably would have done it. But it didn't work out. I couldn't do it financially. But I was ready at 62. But yeah, the rushing around, I don't miss it. And I bet you don't either.
Yeah, I don't either. And I was always in denial about aging. I felt good. And so, okay, I kind of would wonder, how am I supposed to feel? I'm 65, but I just carried on. But when I turned 70, that sobered me up. It was like, okay, let's got to take a step back here and think about this. And I had a good long turn, as you know.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And I didn't want to be possessive about it. It wasn't my beat. I was just the lucky person that got to do it. So at 71, I retired the month I turned 71, and it was time.
I'm going to enjoy saying this to you, Jerry. By the way, 1981 to 2022, Jerry, I'm going to enjoy this. You're just like John Calipari outside the paycheck, because he used to say, how many times did you hear it? I'm just the caretaker of Kentucky basketball. You're just the caretaker of the Pete of Kentucky basketball and football for a while for the Lexington Herald Leader. Who knew that you guys had so much in common?
I'm going to try to forget you said that.
I bet you are, but hell, I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
Well, you really, you come across as really enjoying yourself in this realm. And so that's great.
I'm best. I'm lucky enough I don't have to. I look forward to it. And, if I wake up one day and I don't look forward to it, I'd probably do it a few more days to say, okay, it's just not this one day. But if I had a week where I wasn't looking forward to it, I would say, you know what? Father Time is going to win. But I'm having more fun. And I love the 4 years I didn't do this. I really did. And that's the crazy part. It's not like I had angst. And I turned this down like 4 times, and then it kind of made sense. And they were Lynn has been very nice to me with conceding. I mean, the time period, not 2 hours, not 3 hours, not doing drive. They've been great to me. So I got to tell you, if I was doing drive time in the afternoon, I probably would have already quit by now for a lot of different reasons. It's not important. Just whatever. Okay. So I want to play the soundbite. And Jerry, I want you to put your thinking cap on for a second. I don't know if you've heard me play the soundbite, but I've played this a lot of times this week. Jerry, I love this soundbite. I really do. And think of all the gazillion kids that you interviewed through the years. And there's something about that last second shot. As you know, some guys want it, some guys don't want it. You know this, and you've seen this. There's a lot of guys that don't want the damn ball. They're just not going to admit it. But there are guys in the NBA making over $10 million who don't want the ball. This is Colin Chandler the other day. You've seen the games where, there was a game. I keep on saying I can't remember, 4 or 5 games ago, whatever it was. He's 1 for 9. And he hits a shot from Danville. I mean, he's hit some big shots, plus, the passes, the steal, he's been unbelievably clutch. But here's his psychology of what you have to have in your cranium when you take a big late shot. Jerry, here it is.
You got to take the fear out of your shots and know that they might not go in, and live with that, and it's great when it does, and you plan on that. But I think that's how it's got to be.
He's not afraid of missing. That's what I derive of it, because he knows you're going to miss. How do you take that? And off the top of your head, Jerry, I'm not saying he's the best basketball player in the last 20 years. He's not the best basketball player on this team. I am saying he is as clutch as anybody who's been on this team. Not the best. Again, please. I don't want anybody to misconstrue this. He's as clutch in the last 5 minutes as anybody I can remember in 10 years and maybe longer. What say you about clutch in the last 5 minutes of games?
Well, one thought I have, and I think this applies to him, but to basically, a whole lot of players, is players evolve. That the player you see today is not necessarily the player you're going to see a month from now or 2 months from now. And so I kind of, I don't want to say roll my eyes, but I don't take seriously when evaluations are made, because to me, it's a snapshot. And we'll see what happens. And I think that's true with Chandler in the sense of, I noticed in some of the early games, I thought teams were attacking him, defensive, him as a defender. They were trying to get the ball to the guy he was guarding because they thought that was a matchup they could exploit. And I'm seeing that a lot less now. So, this is from far on the outside looking in. But it looks like that he's not as vulnerable that way as he was. But like my partner John Calipari said, you're not going to miss. Don't miss. You're not going to make all the shots, but don't miss all the shots.
Right.
And so Colin, thankfully for Kentucky, is making some shots.
By the way, that's a really good point about the defense, because if, let's say, in that stretch where I thought they were going after Chandler as well, you would have told me that they would put him on Ament, and he did a nice job. Not as good as Owe had done, but he did a really nice job. And Ament wasn't nearly as good in the second half. You'd have told me back then, during that period of the season that they would purposely put him on main event. I said, you got rocks in your damn head. So, he's gotten tougher and he's gotten much better. There's no question about it. But shooting wise, Jerry, you've interviewed every kid that played at Kentucky, maybe a couple walk-ons you didn't since, 1981. Do you remember how many guys were that clutch in the last 5 minutes of games? Because I got to tell you the truth. And as you're thinking about this, the full court pass to Malachi, the steal when he heard what was going on, and assist to Owe, 14 points in the second half against Texas, the 3 against Ole Miss, that turnaround, and he doesn't hit a lot of those turnarounds. That was interesting. I think he's had a couple this year to put the Cats up by 8 with a little over a minute to go against Calipari, 18 points, 4 of 8 against Oklahoma. And then the 3 to put him up against Tennessee with 33 seconds. I mean, come on. Can you think of a guy since 1981 that you covered that was more clutch in the last 5 minutes?
Well, I would have to sit back, Alan, and think for a while about that because there's so many players, obviously, in that. But
Sure.
that pass, that inbounds pass against LSU was amazing. It had to be, and it was, as you know, I'm sure, they guarded the inbounds pass, unlike Kentucky against Leitner. And I immediately thought of Leitner, of course, as that unfolded.
So do I. And I'm going, put Andre Riddick on the ball.
But I remember the Leitner game, and I was sitting there courtside. Fortunately, the media sat like that then. And I noticed that they weren't guarding the inbounds, but I didn't get all worked up about it. I didn't think it was that big a deal, but maybe it was. But anyway, they were guarding with a tall guy on Chandler, and he throws the ball three-quarter court perfectly. And they had a defender, as you remember, right in front of Marino. So the pass, if it was just a touch off, would have been deflected away. Amazing. That might be the greatest pass I've ever seen in any game. It was fantastic.
Better than the pass to some guy named Leitner?
Well, that was a good one, too. Of course, he was unguarded. You keep forgetting that, Alan. And but that was an amazing pass too. I mean, but but having a real tall guy right in front of you, waving his arms and everything, and they had a defender right in front of Marino to make that pass. I don't know how many times any player could do that.
I got to tell you, I'm with you on that. I was just teasing you, but because there was somebody in front that made that pass better, and you remember this. I know you remember this. That when they broke the huddle, Pitino yelled at Pelfrey and Feldhouse, "Don't foul!"
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, where he put that negative thing. So they were like their shoes were like nailed to the ground. I don't know if they would have done something differently, but there was something to that. Okay, so if next week or the week after or whatever, because I know how you are, you're gonna think about this. I know you, Jerry, because there's certain things you still keep with you even though you're retired. If you come up with a name that you think is equal or better or close to Chandler in the last 5 minutes a game in all your time covering Kentucky for 1,000 years, I'd be curious because I've racked my brain and I can't think of it. And maybe I need to. I'm sure you've done the same thing. There were times I go back and I look at rosters because sometimes it rekindles your memory. Oh, I forgot about him. Oh, in that game he did so and so. Just food for thought.
Here's a name that just popped into my head: Luke May for North Carolina. Remember he made that shot against Kentucky in the Elite Eight.
Yes,
and it was mid-range, maybe a touch further from the left side. And, that was, obviously a clutch moment to send his team to the Final Four.
Yep.
So anyway, that shot came to mind. I'm more impressed. I know I'm going to keep saying this. I'm not going to convince you. I'm still more impressed with that inbounds pass. And the shots he made are good, no doubt, excellent, especially in the clutch. But that pass is just it just blew my mind.
Jerry, I don't know if you heard me. I was talking over you. My bad. I've got a big mouth. I don't know if you ever noticed that.
I don't listen to you, Alan. Don't worry.
Oh, don't worry. My wife doesn't either.
I can identify with that.
It's all good. That pass is better. I was teasing you about that. That that Chandler made is better for the exact reason that you said. I was just trying to bust your chops. That's all. I do that occasionally. It's just one of my habits. Okay, I want to move on to something. Jimmy, I can't see you because I see Jerry. Give me a thumbs up when you get from the other day we didn't play Brad Underwood. And he's quick. And so I really don't like complaining about officials, but I sure as hell been doing it a lot. Jerry, 3 technicals in 38 seconds. I've never seen it. Have you ever seen 3 technicals in 38 seconds like Doug Shaw did?
No, I haven't. And I didn't think, maybe you've probably paid better attention than me. I don't remember getting a full explanation from the TV guys or afterwards of what exactly happened. Maybe I didn't read carefully or wasn't listening carefully.
There really wasn't a good explanation. And I know you thought this. We haven't talked about it, but I'm sure, and I know I did, and I mentioned it on TV more than once, not a ton of times, but they should make a referee available to the media to explain what they did and why they did it. Now, this is what I was told in the 80s by an assistant commissioner in the SEC. And I wonder, knowing you, Jerry, I'm sure you asked too. But the logic was, and I went, okay, and now I don't like it. I accepted it then. But in the early 80s, the first time I got here, I accepted things I don't accept now. It was the youth and naivete, whatever. That I was told that there was, seriously now, Jerry, there was a fear factor for the safety of officials if there was something very controversial, and they then answered questions in front of the media. And by the way, I could see it then. It's a lot worse now with gambling and stuff like that, but I could see it, but it's still disingenuous. I'm assuming you got the same answer, and knowing you, Jerry, as thorough as you were, I can't imagine you didn't ask about that.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to. I think the referees obviously are a key part of the game and decisions they make, and I like the idea of reviewing. Not too much, of course, and then they explain that. I assume the people in the crowd can hear them when they get on this and say, the call's reversed. It's going to be LSU's ball or whatever. And yeah, they're a key part of the game. I was talking to somebody the other day and I remembered Hugh Durham, the Georgia coach. He used to, I think, somewhat jokingly say that in Rupp Arena there was a blue mist. And that blue mist, by that he meant the referees were affected by that. And he said that, there was a game, and I don't remember this, but he said, I remember him saying it, that a ball went out of bounds and it was Georgia's ball. And the referee just sort of matter-of-factly, said, Georgia ball. But then later in the game, there was an out of bounds, and it was Kentucky's ball. And the referee got real excited and kind of got wound up like he was playing. I don't know if this actually happened, but this was a story that Hugh Durham told.
Well, the blue thing, I was around when he said that too. The second one, that would sound like Hugh exaggeration, and we both like talking to Hugh.
Right.
Jerry, I need to take a break. Can you hang on? I want to play, coming out of this, I want to talk about Brad Underwood and your feeling. It's almost an epidemic. That's pretty strong for what I'm talking about. I don't think I'm going to take it back. Okay, we'll talk about what I think is an epidemic in basketball, not in the world. Nobody's got to take a vaccine. It's all good. Coming back, Jerry Tipton, Hall of Famer Jerry Tipton. Give a quick plug for your book right now, by the way.
Deja Blue is a memoir of my 41 seasons covering Kentucky. 1981 through 2022. And a lot of memories, and I try to focus it on, obviously, Kentucky. My personality is to kind of not be in the spotlight, but it is a memoir, so I have to be in there. But I tried to give it at least a historical feel.
And you did, and I read it, and it was good. So,
well, thank you. I second guess myself a lot. Maybe you do that too, Alan.
Yes.
But I'm always kind of shaking my head. Why didn't you ask this instead of that? And why didn't you this, that? And so it's a constant thing.
when I do my stories, they allowed me to go longer than the average story at the station. And so the toughest part wasn't writing the story and putting it together, was cutting it down, because I still had to cut it down a little bit. And I'm going, should I have taken out that 4 seconds there? Should I have let this soundbite breathe? Should I maybe written it? Yeah, I think you have to do that to question yourself and to be honest with yourself. Jerry Tipton, the Hall of Famer, kind enough to join us. I want to talk about an epidemic, and then Jerry's going to tell me it's too strong, probably, and I'm wrong. And if he does, I want to hear it. We'll do that when we come back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
My name is Terry Schultz, CEO for the Rutherford County Area Habitat for Humanity. Republic Bank has really been a game changer. They have invested not only financially, but time to really listen so that we can move our mission forward. What I like about Republic Bank is they've come in asking, what are your needs? And I don't know that you get that any other place.
That's Terry's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler, and I've spent years on these roads, and safety isn't a slogan to me, it's real life. That's one reason I trust Volvo. Quantrell Volvo has been part of this community for years. Brentley and Mark are friends of mine, and they run the dealership the right way, with care, integrity, and real respect for the people they serve. If safety, smart design, and peace of mind matter to you, start your search at Quantrell Volvo. We have the XC60, the hybrid. We love it. Best car we've had in 43 years, and it is really smooth, and we're saving money on the gas. Right now, get financing as low as 0.99% APR for 36 months on most 2026 models. Visit QuantrellVolvo.com. See dealer for details.
Lead, maximize, and deliver results with LM Digital Agency. Locally owned and run right here in Lexington. Let us get you results at lmdigitalagency.com.
Baby, it's cold outside.
Uncle Rick, warm yourself up with a hot coffee or cappuccino at Clark's Pub and Shop.
Kappa what?
Cappuccino. And while you're there, be sure to pick up some of our in-store specials. We have assorted Hershey, Reese, Kit Kat, and Payday standard size candy bars, 2 for $3, and Nature Valley granola bars, 2 for $2.
I feel warmer already. Clark's Pub and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
W223CV Lexington.
ESPN Sports Radio 1300 and 92.5. WLXG Lexington, an LM Communications broadcasting station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Jerry Tipton, Hall of Famer, kind enough to join us. Chipper up at 1:30. And don't forget about my friend Terry Page. Terry Page. I'll see you today. You hear me say a million times, she's a great licensed massage therapist in Lexington Thursdays and Fridays, in Butler, Kentucky, Monday and Tuesdays. It's crazy how much she's helped me. She's a wonderful person, and she should never have an appointment open. Never. A lot of you have gone to see her because I talk about her. So we appreciate that. And she's got a deal, $10 off your first visit if you use the code Cutler. No, the code isn't Tipton. The code is Cutler when booking in February. Terry Page, text or call 859-373-0578. Jerry Tipton, kind enough to be in the studio. Jerry, I want to play this soundbite. And I think this has become so bad, it's got to be fixed. And I don't know how you fix it right away. This is Brad Underwood, does an outstanding job as the Illinois coach. And he's talking basically how referees, I didn't see it. I looked for it. He hasn't gotten fined. I wonder if he will get fined. I'm assuming he will. How the referees cost him a game.
I mean, he's 5 feet from getting across half court, and there's a 10-second call. And we got guys that miss that. And they're making, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know. I'm done talking to people. I don't get called. I'm done. I'm frustrated as heck. I'm very frustrated. And because it changes so much from game to game. We had a guy tonight we haven't had in 2 years. 2 years. Do a league game. Do a league game in 2 years.
Brad Underwood. Jerry, I remember, so do you, the good old days with Rutledge and Clockerty and stuff like that. And I forgot who I had on last week who remember the Clockerty's days. And he was a really good dude. He would talk to you, whatever. And he said Clockerty was honest. He was just bad for both teams. But Clockerty, this is somebody, basketball. I'm sorry, I don't remember who it was. On the show. It wasn't like a secret text message or something like that. But what I liked about Clockerty, if he made a mistake, he would tell you. He would tell you. And I don't think that goes on today. But the point is this. I know you're not watching basketball like you were. Obviously, it's not even close when you're on the beat for 1,000 years. But the refereeing has gotten past horrendous. There's a tremendous lack of consistency, and they're missing obvious stuff. Like in the game where, there were the 3 technicals in 38 seconds early in the game. DJ Wagner literally, with 2 hands in front of everybody, 2 hands pushed Colin Chandler to the ground. That should have been a technical automatically. And there's so many examples like that. If you're a coach or a player, you don't know what the hell's going on. How they ref in the last 2 minutes is often different from the first 37, 38 minutes. I've never seen the refereeing so bad. And there are not enough young officials coming into the game because they don't want to go to high schools. What are they paying, $50 or whatever heck it is to take abuse on a Tuesday night from fans in the stands? So I don't see a lot of young officials moving up as there should be. But Jerry, to me, it's an epidemic of bad officials all over the place. If you think the word epidemic is too strong, God bless. Tell me what you think.
Well, I watch, on TV a lot of games, and I feel like I see walking a lot that's not called. Or I see palming the ball, which is not called, but especially the walking. And I don't understand. My thought is I thought in the NBA years ago, they wanted the show, the basketball show was more important than seeing somebody called for walking. The fans aren't going to like that generally more than a dunk, flying dunk. So they were not calling it, and I feel like I'm seeing that now in college basketball, where the show is more important than what I would consider making the right call.
I agree. There was a clip that went viral. It was either last year or the year before, and you might have seen it, where Giannis took 5.5 steps. I've never seen anybody do that. I mean, LeBron is taking 4 steps, and he's not the only one taking 4 steps. I'm not picking on LeBron, but he's going to get, more of a non-whistle than some other people for obvious reasons. But the 5.5 steps was unbelievable. As a matter of fact, I believe walking isn't even in the rule book anymore.
I saw a guy, I don't remember who, recently, where he took like that. I think it's like you're back in the olden days, you could take like a step and a half on the way to a layup. Well, he took his step and a half, stopped, and then took another step to free himself from the defender. That to me seemed like walking. Another time, the guy, he took the step and a half, stopped, and then moved both feet to get in position to shoot. No call. So, I mean, I don't get too worked up about it, but walking is walking. I think it's a difficult job to be a ref. And my one of my sons was reffing in a youth sports thing for 7. I think they were 7-year-olds. And after the game, a mother confronted him because she wasn't happy with his calls. And he told me she dropped some F-bombs on him. And my only question was, you didn't F-bomb back, did you? And he said, no, he didn't. Good. Okay. But we're talking 7-year-olds.
Right.
So people get emotionally involved, and it's directed at the refs. It's not unusual for it to be.
And I'm going to guess your son probably wasn't making $25 a game.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't, it wasn't a money thing, I don't think.
No, you're doing it for the right reasons. And most of the parents, and I say this lovingly, who complain in those stands don't know enough about basketball. And you know what I found through the years? Some of the coaches I've talked to, and I'm sure you have too, who've had kids, how many times have you had a coach say, not often, when it comes up, when I'm in the stands, I don't say a word. Because it'd be easy for that coach to complain. I think those that coach, if I'm going to do a stereotype, sitting in the stands, shut up more than the average parent does.
I see sometimes coaches like out on the court, not way out on the court, and I think they should stay behind the sideline, you know. It's not a big deal, I guess, but I would prefer that, you know, stay back.
What do you think about Pitino? He said this on the Andy Bashir podcast. For decades, it seems like, as you know, when they fired him at Louisville, he said, I shouldn't have been fired. That it was the assistant coaches who he hired. And that's what I said at the time. And I think his other little problem in a certain restaurant, and I'm not shilling for it, but I don't want to spend 3 minutes.
I remember that problem.
I bet. And I think anybody listening remembers that problem. So I think that suffices in itself. I think if that problem didn't happen, you would have been fired, neither here nor there. But he said in a podcast Tuesday, I deserve to be fired because my assistant coaches did the wrong thing. And looking back on it, I learned a valuable lesson: who to hire, who to trust, what to believe in. Well, first of all, he knew that. I think he got lazy. I really think he got lazy. And because he wouldn't have done that when he's at Kentucky. And what a great staff that was when he first got here. So he admitted it. And I'm not going to rip the guy for it. I don't know about you, but I've had some things that's taken me years to come to grips with. I think that's called life and human nature. I wonder if he's going to get castigated for this, but it's all good by me. It's just interesting sports fodder conversation. What say you, Jerry?
Well, maybe I'm naive, but I would think a head coach would always want to know his assistants and who he's hiring and how supportive they're going to be, and that it's, you know, at least going in, it's a priority to make that the reality. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know a lot about his I didn't hear this podcast, and I remember him leaving Louisville, and, you know, it wasn't pretty. But I'm a little surprised that still would come up. That's been several years ago, and he's, you know, had success since then. Things are going well at St. John's. So I wonder why that came up.
Usually he wants to talk about it. How many times you remember the good old days? We got about 2 minutes. The good old days when Brooks Downing would call you up and me up and maybe one or two other people and say, don't ask coach about this. And then he wouldn't shut up about that topic. Do you remember that?
Oh, I think I put that out of my mind.
I'll never, Brooks, don't ask, and then go, I'm sure you did the same thing, but that's what everybody wants to know. What,
yeah.
You gotta, you gotta ask, and it always ends up coming out, and usually that's the stuff he couldn't shut up about. Last one. I think this team is playing wonderful. My theory, but you tell me yours. They're ranked number 25. It's about right because they had a lot of failure. And so they're ranked where 25. Miami's 24, and they should be higher. They keep on winning. They don't move them up. And I don't want to get into it with you. It's too long. You got to go. But my pet peeve is they should continue moving up slightly if teams in front of them lose. But it's not about Miami. But they're not, and this happens all the time every year. Team comes in number 25. They're actually playing much better, but they don't deserve to be higher because they lost a bunch of games. And so I look at it that there's kind of three tiers. There's about three tiers in my first tier. There's about maybe 5 or 6, and then maybe 8 or 9 in the third tier. And I think Kentucky's in that third tier. I think they're much better than number 25. I didn't say top 10, but I think they're much better than 25, and they've become, I think, a really nice basketball team, and they might be really good. What say you?
Well, I think they've evolved, like players evolve, teams evolve. And early in the season, I kept thinking about Dan Dockage, something he said, if you remember him. And he was a TV analyst on telecasts of the games, and he did a UK game at LSU, and LSU won. And Dan summed up the game by saying one team played, meaning Kentucky, the other team competed, meaning LSU. And I thought in several early games, Kentucky was playing, but they weren't competing like the other team was. And I think they've come along, and they're competing now, more, playing harder. And the thing that I've thought about recently is luck. As you probably know, Ken Pomeroy ranks luck, and it's based on how you do in close games. And the more close games you win, the better your ranking is for luck, which Ken, I remember telling me, the teams didn't like being ranked well for luck. They wanted to say that they won close games because of skill and composure and so on and so forth. Well, Kentucky in the latest one, they're ranked 97th in luck. So they're, one of in the top 100 for luck, which I don't know how they would feel. 2 SEC teams are even worse, or better, depending on how you look at it. Vandy is 91, and Missouri, which surprised me, they're 31. So they're one of the luckier teams. And that makes me wonder in the postseason if it seems likely that Kentucky will have close games against, especially if they advance, better competition. And any team can win a 4 or 5 minute game. Kentucky's been pretty good about that so far, but still, it's kind of like, it would make me a little nervous. And so I looked it up with Ken Pomeroy's help. And since in the last 23 NCAA champions, 10 of them were quote unquote luckier, had a better luck. They were luckier rating than Kentucky is right now. So make of that what you will. Syracuse in 2003 was ranked 16th in the country, their final ranking for luck. So they were one of the 20 luckiest teams in the country, and they won the tournament. So we shall see.
Yeah. One more, Jerry. You do something no guest ever does. You come with a notepad with some notes. What else is in your notepad that we didn't talk about?
Oh, boy. I said something about parity. I'm a big believer in, I've heard coaches say there's more parity now than there used to be. It's harder for Kentucky to beat Kentucky or any of the Blue Bloods because there's more, the talent is wider. And the example of that this year, Vandy beat UK, as you remember, 80-55. And Kentucky beat Oklahoma 94-78. So what happens? Oklahoma beats Vandy 92-91. That makes no sense logically. Not that, every game is its own adventure. And, that's just the way it is. Another thing I wrote down was that, and this really surprised me, with the game Saturday, Florida has not beaten Kentucky in Gainesville since 2018.
Really?
Yeah. I think that's right. It's either 17 or 18.
We'll check it out. I haven't read the notes yet. I always read the opposing team notes, but that's a wow. I will double check that.
I was very surprised by that. And Florida's, obviously very, very good. And, they've got they're averaging like an average win at home of 20 points, something like that. And I also looked up Kentucky's remaining schedule is going to be a challenge. 7 games, 3 of the opponents are ranked, and 2 others are getting votes. And the 2 exceptions to that are both road games at South Carolina and at Texas A&M. So, there should be challenges. We'll see what happens.
Going to be fun. Hey, Jerry, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in the station. Thanks for chatting. Hopefully we can do this in a short time period again down the road. Appreciate it. Dude, you still got the broadcast. I told you years ago you could have done radio. And, you and I do have something in common. I know you don't believe this. You don't think you have anything in common with me, is that correct?
I'm a little apprehensive about where this is going. Go ahead.
You should be. It's me. You should be apprehensive. We both have a face for radio. So
I would agree with that. And I've had people now, seriously, for a moment, going back to like high school, tell me I had a voice that was, compelling. Maybe that's not the word they use, but, it caught people's attention.
Dude, you got a voice. You always have.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I do. I recognize voices. You've always had a really good voice.
And your face for radio was on TV so much. How about that?
You can fool some of the people some of the time. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate it. And keep on enjoying retirement. You sound good, and you sound like you're happy. God bless you.
Yeah, I'll come on anytime you want me to. You think I can contribute?
Oh, this was wonderful. It's a wonderful conversation. Thanks, man. Appreciate
Take
you.
care.
And keep on going to lunch with the fellas. That's a beautiful thing.
Will do.
All right. Jimmy, that was really good. Jerry always comes with knowledge. And I forgot he brings a notebook. You see, did he have 2 pages of notes?
It was 2 pages.
Very impressive. It's very impressive. Okay, coming up, Chip Rupp will be next, but let's take a break, as we should, and want to mention Ramon Carriega, Blue Lotus Health, 859-533-0914, 859-533-0914, acupuncture, now also providing a licensed massage therapist. Acupuncture. Ramon has done amazing things for me. He's on Versailles Road, not too far from the radio station. Please use my name. Please check it out. It's a gazillion things that acupuncture can do to help you out. He's been a blessing for me. Ramon, 859-533-0914. Chip Rupp coming up next. Thank you, Jerry, as you walk out the door. Appreciate you. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
Hey, I'm Dale Wise. I've just recently retired. I know that the electronics, if you don't keep up with it, it can get away from you and get real confusing. Republic Bank's app, I use their app, and it is so easy to use. I log in with my fingerprint.
Yeah, well.
So it's super easy. I don't have to remember 50 million different passwords and all that stuff. And it lays it out just real nice.
That's Dale's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC. Data rates may apply.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler, and I've spent years on these roads, and safety isn't a slogan to me, it's real life. That's one reason I trust Volvo. Quantrell Volvo has been part of this community for years. Brentley and Mark are friends of mine. Smart design and peace of mind matter to you. Start your search at Quantrell Volvo. We have the XC60, the hybrid. We love it. Best car we've had in 43 years, and it is really smooth. And we're saving money on the gas. Right now, get financing as low as 0.99% APR for 36 months on most 2026 models. Visit QuantrellVolvo.com. See dealer for details.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. I want to thank Jerry Tipton for joining us. It was really good. And now a consistent, no-filter guest who I enjoy talking to immensely. There's an arena downtown, I think, with his last name on it, Rupp Arena. Adolf Rupp III, Chip Rupp, kind enough to join us. Chip, who knew that this team would get their act together like this? Who knew? Not us, right?
No, it definitely wasn't us. If you remember back in December, I'd hit an all-time low and was beaten beyond recognition and had given up hope on these guys after the Gonzaga game. But to their credit, they're a resilient bunch. Mark and his staff, who at that time I think I made the comment seemed shell-shocked and somewhat clueless, have really gotten their act together, gotten their arms around their personnel, and have got them going in the right direction.
You know, I wrestle with what has changed the most, and it's a long list. But and Jerry Tipton aptly pointed out that there was a point in the season where Chandler was getting picked on for his defense. And if you would have told me that Pope would have put Chandler giving up at least 5, maybe 6 inches, whatever the heck it is to aim at, put him on Tennessee's best player, and he ran around like crazy and still was able to play offense because, as you know, sometimes you run around on defense and you don't have your legs for offense. And if you would have told me back in December around Thanksgiving that you would purposely put him on aim out, not on a switch when you go, oh, no. I mean, it's a long list, but I really haven't done a good enough job pointing out Chandler's improved defense. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm bullish on Colin Chandler. I mean, it's obvious to everyone that he's hit some big shots. He's been on a heater the last 3 or 4 games, maybe more. But even when he came in here from his mission trip, I went back and watched some of his film from his senior year of high school when he was last playing. Super athletic kid. We've seen it on him going to the rim and dunking some balls, but he's long, he's rangy, he's more athletic than a lot of people give him credit for. And um, and I looked at the lineup and said, who are you going to put on Nate Ahmet? I wouldn't have thought that it was Colin Chandler, but Mark knows his personnel, and given his length and his athleticism and his desire to take on the job, he did an excellent job on him. And then the thing that really caught my attention in that game was it was late in the game, and so a lot of people were talking about switching off Owe onto Ahmet on that last basket. But I was sitting there watching it on the court, and Colin Chandler recognized that he had 4 fouls, and he was trying to get that message to Mark and his staff that, hey, I do not need to be on this guy because I have 4 fouls. And they made the last minute switch. And that's what put Owe on Ahmet. And it all worked out well. So, not only is he long and rangy and giving great effort on defense, but he's got a high basketball IQ.
That's a really good point. The second point, because I have been pointing this out now for about a week or two, how much more he's talking. And he's one of the smartest guys on the team. And I'm not going to rip the coaches. They missed it. You should have known that he had 4 fouls. But yeah, things fall through the cracks sometime. Yet he is pointing that out. And I will never forget when Pope got his technical, the second of 3 technicals. Wasn't the second? Yeah, the second of 3 technicals in that 38 seconds. He chirped at Pope. And by the way, and I'm sure Pope was fine with it because he can get away with it like Owe could get away with it, that kind of thing. And he's become as strong, what you can see anyway, as strong of a talker as anybody on the team. Last year, he wouldn't say boo a little bit at the end of the season, a little bit, and not much early on. But, he's gone from shooting to not shooting back to shooting again in this last stretch when he's been really, really good. All of a sudden, his mouth is moving, and he's talking a lot, and he's gained respect from all the fellas on the team.
Well, I'm a big believer that, Mark and his staff can come out and tell the team, this is our captain, this is our leader. But that is only a title. And I think that really what you're seeing is Colin's leadership skills emerging on their own. I mean, just by him being an example on the court, leading by example, growing in his role, he has taken over one of the leadership roles on this team. And he's doing a phenomenal job. And, he's not a young kid. I mean, he went on his mission, so he's older. But you can just see his not only his skill set, but his confidence growing game by game. It's really fun to watch.
I'm probably going to pronounce his name wrong. I'm not ready to, as others are doing, compare him to Oscar. And it's not because I'm being a UK homer. I would put him a step below, which is still very impressive. But Ruben
Chenyolu.
Did I still say it wrong?
Chenyolu.
Okay. Chenyolu had 20 rebounds last night as Florida destroyed Georgia 86-66. What's more impressive than the 20 rebounds, he was 20 of 42 for the entire team. One more, it was 50%. But here's a little caveat that I think is, and I mentioned this yesterday, not with him, but I mentioned this yesterday when Kentucky plays Florida, if the big men for Kentucky, and they've got big men that can stand there and hold their own, if the big men get in trouble, if that's the way it works out, Kentucky's in trouble. Well, I'm going to call him Ruben so I don't screw his name up again. He had 4 fouls last night. And so I really don't like saying this, but how the whistle is blown with the big man on both sides might have a lot to do with who wins the game. And by the way, that doesn't automatically mean bad refereeing. It could mean that guys deserve fouls. So I've been picking on the refs for good reason, but that doesn't mean they're always wrong because that's silly to say too. I think the whistle being blown in a lot of games, but in particular because Florida is so good inside rebounding with strength, I think that's a huge key on Saturday.
No question. I mean, the strength of the Florida lineup are the 4 bigs they have and Hal Condon, Chenyalu, and Hang Lockton. All those guys returned from last year with where they put in a dominant performance all year, and that's the strength of their team. I like our backcourt better than their backcourt right now. You never know which version of Boogie Fland you're going to get. Xavier Lee has been streaky. And so I kind of like our backcourt better, especially the O-way component. The one variable that I'm not sure about for Saturday is going to be what Denzel Aberdeen is going to show up. And the reason I say that, he's been great here recently, but he's going back to familiar territory from a national championship team that he left. There's just this innate feeling you have when that scenario presents itself that you want to go back and prove, hey, I should have been a starter. Hey, I was great. You've got a lot of familiar faces from your old team, and you're trying to prove something. And sometimes that can bring out a version of you that's pressing, trying too hard, and is actually counterproductive. Hopefully, he stays within the version that we've seen recently. And if he does, I like our backcourt better than theirs. And so hopefully it'll balance out. But the front line is going to be a stiff task, no question.
I like Kentucky's backcourt as well. I go into these kinds of games with the assumption that who's ever going home doesn't play well. And if they play well, it's a blessing. I'm not trying to be negative, but we've seen it so. And look at the Hopkins kid when he played against Kentucky. He had a bad game. He's had a bad couple games against Kentucky. And it's not just him. It's just the way it is. And when a kid has a bad game against a former team, it's like in horse racing, right? You have two good races, and then there's a clunker, and then the next one is good. The trainers say, we just throw that one out. The timing would be bad if he gets all uptight about playing at Florida. There's no question about it. But Aberdeen has been terrific. He's up to 37.5% shooting threes, which is nice. And the other thing is, I know you're the same way. Everybody in basketball is the same way. You want your point guard to be able to hit free throws. He's at 81%, and he's hit some clutch free throws. And so if he's out of line, now I granted Chandler missed that front end on a one-on-one after hitting that grade 3 the other day, but he's at basically 84%. And so if either Aberdeen or Chandler or Owe are on the line, I'm feeling pretty good if I'm a Kentucky fan of, what they can do hitting at the line. Aberdeen has been wonderful. And I think he's made himself into a pro player, whether it's in America or somewhere around the world. He can play pro ball. And I think if he goes to Europe, I think he'll actually be a much better scorer there than he is here. And he's doing a nice job averaging 12 points a game.
You bring me on to share my thoughts. And going back to earlier in the year, the preseason, I thought this team was going to be exceptional. Then it did not translate to the court early, and I have no explanations why. The version of Denzel Aberdeen we saw earlier in the year looked nothing like the kid that played and kept Florida in the championship game last year against Houston. Now, all of a sudden, we're starting to see that version emerge, and I love what we see. And, last time I was on with you, you said, so are we starting to see a trend here? I said, one game does not make a trend. But if you look at the body of work, except for the clunker at Vanderbilt, these guys are really moving in a nice direction. I commend Mark and his staff for figuring this thing out. And maybe it just took them that long to really assess all the pieces and parts and make the tough decisions to rule guys out for the season, to put Diabate in a position coming off the bench. But to his credit, he's figured it out. And I really like where this team is going right now. Now, Saturday could be a very, very tough contest, but I like the way we're playing right now, and I give us a great chance.
It's interesting. Gene Abel was on yesterday, and he was saying the same thing, complimenting Pope, that he has turned it around. The thing is, I wasn't smart enough to know in December he would make all these changes. He wants to shoot threes. This is not a three-point shooting team, so he has adjusted. And his kids are listening to him. One of the things he said today, and I don't know how many coaches do it, and if I remembered correctly, Pope said he doesn't know other coaches that do it. So at the half, he's not the only coach that meets with the coaches and then they go in and talk whatever. But what he does, when he goes in to talk, he doesn't talk first. He has a team talk to him about what they think needs to be changed and what is going perhaps good and bad. And then he says something. And oftentimes the players will bring up exactly what they need to do, so he doesn't have to be redundant and just start talking about it and stuff like that, which is powerful. It also is a way of getting your kids, your players, to really buy in. It makes them think. It makes them think. It bonds them. I think it's a brilliant thing. I would just love to know how many, and I have no clue. I'm assuming very little. And I could see this becoming a trend because the way coaches are today is different when your grandfather was a coach or Joe B was a coach. It was an autocratic society. It's just the way it was. I'm not being critical. It's just the way it was. And so I'm curious, maybe you have a feel, I don't, as to how many coaches, when they come in the locker room, after they've talked to the coaches, allow the team to talk first. And I think it's brilliant on Pope's part. And so he is evolving right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, the one thing that still makes me a nervous wreck about watching Mark and his staff is when he calls a timeout. You know, I can see the time ticking down on the time remaining in the timeout. In the Tennessee game, as soon as the timeout was called, Rick Barnes was in his huddle talking to his guys. And then you look from where I sit to the left, and Mark and his staff are out there, and there's like 10 guys all sharing their thoughts. And I'm thinking, when's he going to get in the huddle? And you can see the huddle actually communicating amongst themselves. And so he always lets a lot of time burn before he goes in, but maybe it's that he has a clear vision and a concise message, and it doesn't take long to deliver it. But it makes me a nervous wreck. As for my thoughts on, how he handles the timeouts and the halftime discussions with the players going first, I really can't weigh in on that because I've been out of the game so long. I'm still from the old school mindset that you have this autocratic leader that comes in and says, this is what we're going to do. But, I think times do change. I think we're dealing with a different dynamic in college basketball now. And it may be time for a change where the players give their feedback. What I will say regarding that is, Mark ingrains that in their practices. And I think I've told you that. When I go to watch practice, he has whiteboards along one wall. And all of a sudden, he'll dismiss them from the court. They'll go to a whiteboard and he'll ask them a question about what they're putting in. And they all write their answer down on the whiteboard. And so I think he's trying to ingrain a culture there where these guys are individual thinkers. They fully understand the process and can help to make their own decisions. So maybe that's just a method to his madness, and it's not in coaching, relating to coaching in general.
Is it possible? Isn't it interesting how things change over 6 weeks? And I did mention this last year a number of times, and then I shut up about it because of how things were going. Is it possible that 5-10 years from now, maybe sooner, we'll be talking about how some other coaches and teams have copied some of the things Pope is doing?
Could be. I mean, I'll tell you this, Alan. Back in December, I had some real concerns about if the program was too big for Mark and his staff, as many were voicing. And if you remember our performance back in December, it was getting pretty hot around here. I mean, the fan base was split on whether Mark was the right guy for the job or not. However, he did not flinch in the face of adversity, and he remained very optimistic, upbeat, figured it out, and it's got us on the right trajectory now. And that takes a pretty resilient, bright guy to be able to withstand those type pressures, especially with a fan base like the University of Kentucky has. And so that impressed me because he could have just gone into fight or flight mode and just run from the situation, and he did not. He embraced it, remained positive, didn't lose his team, in fact, corrected his team, and has us, fighting Saturday for the top of the league. So I commend him on that. So, the facts are, I think it's yet to be determined whether can Mark win a championship here? Are his methods revolutionary and others will be looking to him to copy those down the road? Only time will tell, but I am very encouraged by what I'm seeing right now.
17-7, the same record as last year. If you told me 6 weeks ago they're going to be 17-7, I'm going, You're just a goody two shoes fan who thinks Kentucky's going to win every single game. And there are a lot of folks out there like that, which is fine. But no, when they were 0-2 in the conference, no. And I still don't think they're peaked. And I think Saturday is probably going to be for the conference title. I think if Florida wins, they will have enough of an edge. And I realize they're all bunched up. But if Kentucky wins, I think they're going to have not like the good old days, but more of a fear factor for other teams that has been lost. It was lost. I remember the good old days when I got here when Mississippi State was bad. You just knew coming in they were uptight. You could see it, you could feel it, you could understand it, and they'd be so far down in the first 10 minutes. There were times where a team like that would play even after the first 10 minutes because the pressure was off. They were going to lose. And then Kentucky eased up a little bit too because the game was over. They understood and they just went out and played. But when I got here, there was a fear factor that Kentucky put in the hearts of a lot of other teams. That's been gone since Calipari started going downhill. There's no question back. I'm not going to say it's going to be as good as it was then, but you win Saturday and you might have some teams going, aha, it's starting to look like Kentucky. Yes?
Yeah, no question. I think Saturday's a big game for a lot of reasons. But if you go to Florida, you take out the defending national champions, you put yourself at the top of the conference, you have a big road win against a team that's arguably one of the hottest teams out there right now. Yeah, you're gonna have everybody's full attention. To your earlier point, the one thing that I would like to see happen with Mark the remainder of this year and in years to come, we need to reestablish a fear factor for teams coming in to Rupp Arena to play Kentucky. And I agree, it's been gone for a while. But there was a time period where teams came into Rupp and they might hope to beat Kentucky on the road, but they gave very little chance to winning in a hostile environment in Rupp Arena against a Kentucky team. And we do have to figure out a way to get back to that home court dominance one way or the other. But that's going to be a process because it took, several years for that to deteriorate. And it's going to take several years for it to come back in the right direction. But, beating teams like Tennessee, like we did last weekend at home, it goes a long way to help in that situation.
Are you less worried, Chip Rupp? Maybe even more worried. I doubt it, but I don't want to speak for you. Or what's your meter of being concerned since not all, but just about all the high school talent, and the high school talent this year, as it's been pointed out to me, is not nearly as good as last year. Last year was not the greatest high school talent of all time, but it was a unique talent when it comes to freshmen who will be first rounders in the NBA this year. It's a really strong class, and that doesn't happen every year. Be that as it may, Kentucky hasn't signed a single soul. Are you concerned? And I kind of believe if they keep on winning, that'll make it a lot easier because I do believe there was a point time period when Kentucky was 0-2. There were other recruiters using that against Pope, saying, hey, it's not the same Kentucky. Pope is falling apart. You know how negative recruiting is. You know that stuff was going on. I know that stuff was going on. That's fine. But the point is, are you concerned about recruiting because we are February, not a single soul has committed, and there's going to be a lot of roster changes because that's the way college basketball is?
Yes, I am concerned. I get the fact that there's negative recruiting. We start off conference play 0-2, but a lot of the groundwork regarding recruiting goes back way before that. And some of these commitments were made prior to us starting out 0-2. So yes, I am concerned that we have not landed any freshman recruits because I think that you're going to see the winning formula moving forward is not rebuilding an all-veteran team, which Coach Pitino says that's what he's going to do moving forward. I think it's going to be a blend. I think you're going to have to land 2 or 3 really solid guys with some experience out of the portal and blend them in with some guys that hopefully you can get for 1 or 2 years, like we're going to have with Jasper and Malachi. And I think that's going to be the winning formula. And so I think for us to ensure success in future years, I think we've got to get some top-notch incoming freshmen committed. And right now we don't have any. And So I'm a little concerned about that, and I'm not sure exactly why that's the case. You hear the same things that all the other pundits say, is that Mark's not necessarily a closer, and that's okay. He doesn't have to wear every hat on his staff, but if he's not the closer, then he has to identify somebody on this staff or shake up the staff in a way that he has somebody that can go in and close those recruits.
Either hire a heavy hitter assistant coach or a general manager. By the way, Chip, this is breaking news. About 20 cents ago, Shams, who does a great job covering the NBA, says that De'Aaron Fox has replaced the Greek freak, Giannis, in the 2026 NBA All-Star game. He's a wonderful young man. He's very, very grounded. San Antonio is really good. I mean, they're really good. And he's quietly, there are flashier guys in the team. He quietly is doing a hell of a job. I watch San Antonio every time I can because I want to see Wembanyama. Yeah, I like seeing Fox too. And by the way, Johnson it's the best year he's having in at least 3 or 4. I saw him last time in a couple. It's like, wow, he's coming off the bench, but it's not like his career was over. But he was, from starting, he was slipping and slipping and slipping and slipping. He just was, and whatever it is, he's really good again off the bench. I like San Antonio a lot. Anyway, I'm happy for Fox. He's a class act, and he's another kid. Couldn't shoot when he was here. And by the way, when he got to the NBA, he got a little better, but he's a much, 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 much better shooter. And he's a guy that could score more because he has, when he was with that last team, Sacramento, not very good, but they don't need him to score more. But he's going to have a night. He'll have 38 points when he goes on a bender and stuff like that. And it's one of the reasons I really like San Antonio, because they have a lot of guys who can score now. It's in different nights, and you got to go to Wembanyama first. Anyway, I'm just happy for Fox, and I wanted to break in and say that.
No, I'm happy for De'Aaron. And the Spurs, that's a team you do not want to sleep on. They can cause the Thunder some issues, and they can make a deep run.
Castle's really good. He does everything. He's a garbage man who can score. He plays like a star, but he's kind of like a garbage man. You don't see the combination. Got about 25, 30 seconds. Last comment, whatever's in your cranium, in your world about Kentucky that we haven't said, Chipper up, would be?
I think you have to be a big enough person to admit when you're wrong. And, some of the comments that I made earlier in the year about this team, I was clearly wrong on. Maybe not at that time, but they found themselves. I'm really pleased with the direction we're going in. I'm excited to see the rest of the year unfold. I think we have, a tough road coming down the stretch here, but I do think that if we can put together 2 to 3 wins as we close things out, we can improve our seeding, and I'm optimistic to see what the tournament brings for us.
See, I don't look at it that way. I look at it at the time you had a reason to say that, and then you adjust and things adjust. And that's not to say, whatever, to protect yourself. Oh my gosh, I made a mistake. And look, and I did my monologue the other day, and I know we're about out. I'll let you make one comment, then we got to go. I questioned myself. Was I wrong about the $22.5 million, whatever the hell it was? Yeah, they didn't get a heavy hitter, although he thought, he was a heavy hitter. But for that much money, you should have added a heavy hitter. But he got turned down by a ton of people. There's no question about it. So that was the one thing I thought he needed to do. And I said, maybe I'm wrong about it. And because guess what? If this team gets as far as last year's team, the Sweet 16, then you say you don't like the construction and this was wrong and that was wrong and it's not perfect, but you still got the Sweet 16. So I questioned myself, was I wrong? And I have no problem saying that. But at that time, it looked horrendous. It did. And so we react to what we see. I'm not chilling for not making a mistake. I look at it differently. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Well, I think I'll close things up by saying that I'm really looking forward to the game at Florida on Saturday. I think it's going to be a tough fought match. I think that Brandon Garrison, we're going to need to see the best version of him against that monster front line that Florida has. I'm optimistic that we can go down to the swamp and steal one.
Chip, thank you. Always enjoy the conversation. We're so lucky and blessed you donate so much time because it's fun for both of us. So thank you for having fun chatting hoops.
I love doing it. You guys take care.
Have a great day. Chip Rupp. What a fun show. Jerry Tipton was great. Chip was great. Pope was really, really good with his press conference. Coming up tomorrow, Ben Cleaver, a special conversation with a great pitcher for UK. John Y. Brown, it's a third, not junior. Yeah, I've been saying junior about the ABA and the documentary that hits Amazon tonight. And Hoops, Dick Hoops Weiss. Going to be a fun show. Then Florida on Saturday. Have yourself a great day. Jimmy, thank you. Brad Taylor coming up next. Matthew and Jimmy at 10. I'll be back at noon. Tell one friend about the show, two friends about the show.